Hola chicos, so we are starting step 2 in our chapter number 2, and we will be discussing common R verbs. R verbs meaning verbs that end in R, and now we will work with more verbs to describe everyday activities. And so in this case, I have some examples. For example, here, el profesor Ortiz habla. So he is speaking. So Professor Ortiz speaks. Or Nuria toma apuntes. So in this case, she's taking notes. Nuria takes notes. And both are verbs, as you can see. Hablar and also tomar are verbs. Okay, so let's see the fundamental parts of a Spanish verb. First, we have infinitives. Just like we do in English, we have infinitives. Infinitives like to speak, to work, to sing. In Spanish, to speak, it's hablar. To work, trabajar, to sing, cantar. Okay, so the infinitive is the basic and conjugated form that we have, when we want to say, include an action. And so we have several. Here there's a mix of ar, and ir verbs. So to show you that every verb in Spanish ends in ar, in the letter R. Hablar, comer, escribir, cantar, aprender, leer, salir, conocer, costar, correr, finalizar, freír. The Spanish infinitive always ends in an R. Okay, the other part of the verb, so the ending consists of two letters. We have ar, also verbs that end in er, and verbs that end in ir. So the ending is the other fundamental part of a Spanish verb. Only three types of categories that possible endings in Spanish, meaning verbs. And the third part, it's the stem or root. So whatever is left after removing the ending from the infinitive. So this is the stem of a verb. Hablo. This is my stem, my root. And this is for the verb hablar. Com for the verb to eat, comer. And this is the part that we actually use for regular verbs to conjugate everything else depending on the subject and the tense. So let's see the summary. We need an infinitive always, like estudiar, to study. And also we're gonna need an ending, which is always the last two letters, and in this case, ar. That's my ending of this verb. And the stem, which is gonna be what is left, estudi, left after taking the ending from the infinitive. And so we are dissecting how a verb is formed. And so now, let's see, conjugations. We talk about conjugations. Conjugations are important because every time that we are using a verb in a sentence, it needs to be conjugated. So to put a verb in its correct person and number so that we know who is doing the action. Okay? We need to conjugate verbs. And for example, here using the verb trabajar, which is to work, I can say, yo trabajo en Taco Bell este semestre. So, I work. Here is conjugated. See? I work. Yo trabajo. And then the rest of the information, which is Taco Bell this semester. Okay. So, let's see the conjugation. Now we are dive in on the R verbs. So, this section is just for R verbs. And so, there are several verbs that these are the most common ones that we have in there. Are verbs: hablar, ayudar, bailar, buscar, caminar, comprar, conversar, enseñar, escuchar, estudiar, llegar, mirar, nadar, necesitar, preparar, regresar, tomar, trabajar, viajar. So let's see a conjugation here. A very popular verb. And so, hablar, to speak or to talk. Let's see how it is formed. And so for regular verbs, these endings, like the one in purple or bluish, that's the ending that they all share. All verbs that end in ar, like here, and they are in the present tense, and they're regular verbs, they all end like this. Okay, so I speak, you speak, he or she or usted speaks, we speak, and then vosotros in Spain, and then they and you guys speak. So, yo hablo, tú hablas, él, ella, usted habla. Nosotros o nosotras hablamos, habláis, ustedes, ellos, ellas hablan. Okay? And so, verbs, how do we know verbs? How do we master their conjugations? The only way that we need to do this is by memorizing those endings, becoming familiar, acquainted with what is the ending that they all share. We need to memorize them. There's no other way to learn them and be able to use them correctly. And so you can make yourself like an index cards or something. That way you can practice and become familiar. It's very important to be familiar with these endings, okay? Because like I said, they all share the same ending. Okay, another verb that is also a verb, to look for, buscar, okay? And so here, busco, buscas, busca, buscamos, buscáis, buscan. Okay? Estudiar. What we do in college, right? Estudio. Estudias, estudia, estudiamos, estudiáis, estudian. See? They all share the same endings. So the verb usage. And so there's like in Spanish, the Spanish present tense has several equivalents in English. In English, we can express these regular actions using, for example, just like the present, and we both use it. Estudiamos español en la universidad, so we study Spanish at the university. But unlike English, you can also express ongoing actions. And so in Spanish, sometimes we use, even though we are expressing an ongoing action, we still use the present for that. En este momento, estudiamos en la biblioteca. So here we're using the present tense for meaning we are studying. Or even in the future, to express a future action. Spanish sometimes uses, if it's a near future action, we use the present tense. Esta noche estudiamos para el examen, meaning we will study for the exam. But these are exceptions, depending on if it's a future action, like a near future, or to express an ongoing action. Okay, so here are a few examples. For example, here, Nuria mira la tele. Okay, so we have three options. Nuria mira la tele. Nuria habla mucho. Nuria practica deportes. Which of these sentences match with the images? Okay, so mira la tele. Yes, we can see that she's watching something on TV. Habla mucho. No, we don't see that she's talking to anybody, and so probably that's not the one that we can match with the image. But Nuria practica deportes. So this is Nuria, and she's playing volleyball. So yes, Nuria mira la tele, Nuria practica deportes. Those are the two correct answers. Here says there's an activity that I've prepared for you, that you can use these common are verbs and conjugate them according to the subject. So in here it's ¿qué hace la familia? What does the family do? Your grandmother calls your house to see how the family is doing, so you tell her. So different people doing different actions, and then of course we will have to use the verbs conjugated according to who is doing the action. Okay? Well, hope you enjoyed it, and then I'll see you next time. Ciao!